Hey, Jordan. Thanks for taking some time to be interviewed this morning. And so, just to introduce you to the audience, and by the way, your audience is basically new first semester students. Um, you're a Rankin graduate from when?
2016.
So from 2016. And since 2016, did you get into the industry right away, or what happened there?
I did. I interviewed at a few places while I was still a student. Um, First couple interviews were a little rough. I didn't get the job that the ones that I initially applied for. But I will say that while I didn't get the job, my first job in the industry that I did get was at one of the places that I interviewed with while I was still a student, right? So I made that introduction, and while they passed on me the first go, after I graduated, I circled back and I got my first job, which was at Avila Marketing,
Nice. So,
which
so
is
that was
now
pretty much
Rowlick.
right out of college. Then you went to Avila.
Literally, yeah. I would say I think it was within the first 3 months after graduating, I got my job at Avila. So,
Nice. So
yeah,
2016 graduate, pretty quick employment in the industry afterwards. And where are you working now?
work at Drive Social Media or social media marketing agency downtown. We do basically Facebook ads, all the ads you see while you're scrolling through Instagram or Facebook.
Okay, so Drive social media and you're still writing code and can you tell us a little bit about that? Like what are you doing on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, yes, I write code every day. I'm primarily a front end developer, right? So, um, you know, we have an in-house software that basically, whenever the company was younger, they figured out a strategy of how to run Facebook ads effectively for businesses, and then they decided they wanted to automate that. So that's when they started hiring a dev team to, basically give clients dashboards and tools to make marketing on Facebook easier, right? Whenever I joined, the UI was pretty rough, and so one of my biggest initiatives has been cleaning that up, right? So, um, I mean, I write several hundred lines of code a day, which, I, you know, whenever I was in your student shoes, uh, one of your previous grads, Chris something, I can't remember his last name. Nice guy, but he had made a comment like, yeah, I write about 10,000 lines of code a day or something, and that just blew my mind. And now it's really not that big of a deal. So,
Nice, nice. So
uh,
did you have
yeah,
a lot of technical experience writing code before you were a student?
zero, as you know. Yeah, I didn't even know how to make an email address. So,
And I love that story. I actually tell that story quite often, which is, a common question we get, which is, do I need any sort of prior knowledge? And I love telling the story that, no, and here's an example of a guy who didn't even have an email address, went through the program and is now working, writing code, successful in the industry. So congratulations on that, man. I'm so happy for you.
I appreciate that.
Now, we did just jump
Well,
right into your career, but do you just want to introduce yourself kind of more casually to everyone, like where you're from and just a little bit about you?
sure, yeah. I mean, I'm Jordan Foster, right? I'm 27 years old. I'm from Grand City, Illinois. Nowhere special, nothing like that. Kind of grew up just, I don't know, just average middle class family, right? After high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I did community college for about a year and a half. That really wasn't working out, and a friend of mine was going to Rankin, which led me there. Met Evan, basically was like, "Can I make good money in this?" And he's like, "Well, let me pull up some numbers." Pulled up some numbers, and I just kind of dove in head first. And things have been great ever since. I mean, outside of that, free time. I don't know if I have hobbies. Honestly, I do some coding on the side too. It's a lot of fun. Coding seems kind of, at least for me, whenever I didn't understand it very well, it was very intimidating. But once you start getting the hang of it, it's really cool everything you can do with it, right? Like once you have a decent grasp on things, there's so many ways you can go with it and so many things you can build. So, I kind of do that in my free time. I don't know, pretty standard, mid-20s guy, go out to the bars occasionally, work on side projects at home. Cards fan, Blues fan. I don't know. That's about it.
Yeah, you're a big. You and Ben are both big into the auto
And
industry,
cars.
right? You're a big car guy.
Yeah, cars as well. I don't know how I missed that one.
Yeah. Cool. So you work downtown St. Louis, drive social media downtown. I see that picture of the city in the backdrop. You told me you live downtown as well, right?
Yeah, right in the heart. Right in the heart of it.
You're at home then right now, or you're not in the office, right?
Correct.
Do you work from home or do you work in the office?
So we're like a hybrid type of setup, because basically my bosses, they still want us in the office sometime, because I will say, and I agree with this too, it's very easy to detach yourself from work and the people you're working with and the team that you're on and stuff if you never see those people, right? And that's kind of their philosophy too. So it's like, yes, we will give you guys the opportunity to work from home. We'll give you that freedom, but we still would like to bring the team together at least once, twice a week. So
okay.
So typically we're in the office Mondays and Fridays and work from home Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Nice. And so you work downtown, you live downtown. How far is the commute?
Well, I can see my office, so
you can see your office from your house.
Yes, from my couch.
It looks pretty bright. Are you looking out like a window? You got a good city view? Let's see the city view.
I do.
So are you in like a condo down? Are you in like a condo here?
Right there. No.
Did you just point to your office?
A regular old apartment. Yeah, I did. If I can figure it out, yeah, right there.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's a rough life.
Is this a laptop that you're on right now? Can you take us on the balcony? Let's see what the balcony looks like.
Sure, yeah.
So you lived in Granite City. Did you move here when you got a job downtown?
I moved here, yeah, pretty much. Actually, I moved down here. It's a funny story. I moved down here a little bit before I got the job down here. So I was living here for about 3 or 4 months, and I'm friends with the CEO of my company, right? And so I was wanting to basically move on from Avila, and I reached out and I was like, hey, do you guys need any help? And so it's funny because it's kind of like it was meant to be. I didn't even realize that they had an office right across the street, and lo and behold, I go to show up for the meeting and I'm like, oh my God, like it's that building.
Wow, that's awesome. So your commute is walking distance. I think you told me one time that sometimes you take a scooter to work.
Yeah, I'll take the bird scooters, especially if I'm running late. Because it's about a 90-second walk to work. But if I'm needing to speed it up, I can hop on a scooter and be there in about 20. So.
That's cool, man. So that buys you a minute.
Yeah, literally a whole minute.
You cut your commute in third.
Yeah. Which your students, they know that 1 minute can really matter, right?
That 1 minute can really matter. That 1 minute can definitely matter. So What advice would you give someone who's just starting out?
Uh, I would say you don't have to, um, don't expect yourself to understand everything immediately. And that, um, that I feel like that's kind of like an obvious thing, right? But one of the biggest, I mean, like I was very stressed sometimes, right? Whenever I was learning all these different languages in your class. And it was because like it was so stressful and so frustrating because I just couldn't wrap my head around these concepts and I couldn't um like I didn't understand them all the way like inside and out, right? And with with this technology with coding, like there's so many layers to understanding, like to truly grasping 100% of a certain thing. um but the thing is, you really don't need to understand it inside and out. Like, yes, it's good, and yes, you should work towards that. But a lot of what, like, one thing that I've learned is, you know, I can just kind of take something at face value. I can understand, like, I can read documentation on like how a function works or how a component works, or there's these chunks of code out there on the internet that you'll copy and paste from Stack Overflow that you'll write yourself, functions from JavaScript that you'll use, things like that. And it's just like understand that these are just puzzle pieces and you're just trying to put this puzzle together. And it's, yes, you want to know like how that individual piece is built, but you know, understand the puzzle, I guess, more so than being so focused on understanding the piece. I don't know.
No, that does make sense. So it's like it's if I could try and help you out here, getting the job done is the puzzle. And so you might be taking these different puzzle pieces, and while you might not know how the individual piece is constructed, if you know how to use the piece to build the bigger puzzle, that's the objective, is to build the puzzle.
Correct. Yeah. Because if I was like, make this form, right? And you're like, oh my God, like I don't even understand how this input are right. Like I don't understand how this input works. It's like you don't necessarily need to know that, right? You need to understand that this is an input that you can type something into, and you need to take that string of text and put that somewhere, right?
Cool,
And
cool.
then when they hit that button, you send it somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's like, and at least for me, it's like I just got so overwhelmed because I was like, God, I don't understand anything, right? Because there's so many layers to even that input. But it's like you don't, just try to understand the bigger picture. And also you have to build it and expect it to break the first time. Like I don't understand anything until the third time I've done it minimum, right? So like if I'm trying to build that form, I'll build it and it'll look terrible and it won't work right, and then I'll just delete it all. And then I'll build it one more time and I'm like, okay, now it's kind of making sense. And you just start uncovering like dots start connecting themselves. And then like that third time I've done it, it's like, okay, now I get the bigger picture here.
You don't see my students in my class right now, but I saw about six of them nod their head like, yeah, I get that. I feel that. Like they can relate. So even these students in this class who've been in class for all of 3 weeks, they understand what you're saying. So that's awesome.
And another thing too, as far as like classwork and stuff goes, like I'll be the first to tell you, I was not the best student, right? Like I wasn't the one that went home and read I crammed the night before test versus doing all of my homework, because I'm assuming you still tell people, like it's expected that you're going to go home and you're going to work on these things every single night, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Like you're supposed to be doing a little bit of learning and a little bit of homework and stuff every night, but most people don't do that, right? Like I was still a kid in some regard when I was in your class. Like I went out and partied versus staying home and doing my homework sometimes. But I just want to say like that matters a whole lot, right? It's like it should be fun too. It's like you're going home and like you're building something, you know, like this isn't like English class where you have to go home and write some stupid paper that you really don't care about the topic or anything like that. Like you're learning how to build things on the internet, and, you know, just make sure that you actually do your reps with the homework because it matters.
It's kind of like what you said earlier. If you're not doing a little bit each night, are you going to get that repetition that it's required? Right. So
Yeah,
are you telling me that if you went back, you might do it a little bit different? Is that what you're admitting to?
I do it a whole lot different. And I'd probably be a lot better now because of it too, you
Well, you
know.
know what?
Uh,
We've all gone through school. We've all had similar experiences. I can relate myself in many ways and look back and say, oh, I could have done that better. I wish I would have done that better. So that's part of, I guess, iteratively looking at your life and trying to become a better person. And just, that's good advice. I appreciate that. Um,
and I would crush it if I came back and redid your class.
yeah, I'm sure would teach me quite a bit and be able to teach these students quite a bit. You want to be a teacher? All
Maybe one day.
right,
Maybe
cool,
one
cool.
day.
um, the problem is we probably can't afford you. I don't know what your salary is, and obviously this might be public. So, what can you talk about salary expectations for the new developer and 3 to 5 years out? Like, what would you advise them to look for?
Sure, sure. Well, I make $73,000 right now,
Oh,
so
okay. So just put that
that's
out
my
there. All right,
salary.
that's pretty
Yeah,
impressive. So that's
that's fine.
73 after what you said 5 years ago.
Uh, what 20? Yeah, 5 years ago
So
ish.
five
Yeah,
years, and you're
and
20, 26,
yeah,
26 making 73.
yeah,
I'd
and
take that. I wasn't 26 making 73. Congratulations, by the way.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, and you know, as long as we stay on track with work, that should be about closer to 90 by end of the year too. So,
Well, that's a pretty big
but
raise.
I say, yeah, yeah, it's baked into it's a whole contract. Once we start generating revenue, then you know that increase is baked into that. But the reason I say that is because it is 100% possible, especially in this industry, like to make six figures. And quite honestly, like I made mistakes along the way that um, I could probably be at six figures right now if I hadn't have made those mistakes. And I would say the biggest one that I want all of whoever's listening, I want you to know is you have you have negotiating power even if you don't think you do. Okay? Because even though okay, let me backtrack. Whenever I graduated Rankin, yes, I graduated. Yes, I did the courses. I had a decent understanding of coding and whatnot, but I didn't feel very like confident in my skills, right? And that's okay. But that confidence comes into play whenever you're negotiating for your first position, and this is very crucial, right? Because my first job, I the one that I you know the one that I my first job in the industry, they offered me $35,000 a year salary, and I was like, well, that seems kind of low, but I still live at home with my parents. I don't really have that many like expenses. Like I hadn't even crunched the numbers to know like, okay, if I move out, when I move out, if I'm spending this, and this is something that Evan will, you know, he'll provide a little financial guidance to your class, I'm assuming at some point. Um, but yeah, so they offered me 35K and I just accepted it, right? I didn't feel like I should have tried to haggle for more. Um, but once you get in somewhere, it is very difficult to get your, increase your salary, right? Because most companies are going to try to push, oh, you did a great job this year. We're going to give you a 5% raise. That's a good raise at companies, right? But when you're making $35,000 a year, that means you just got an extra $1,700 a year. Okay. And then $1,700 a year broken up over, what, 26 paychecks. Really, that's like an extra $20, And so my advice is, even when you go to get your first job and they give you an offer letter and that number is whatever it is, always try to get more. Always. Because like whenever I asked them, because I had multiple discussions with my boss, about that 35K, and I was like, where did you get this number? And he's like, literally, he said, it's just a number. It wasn't like it wasn't even their budget. Like it was just a number they pulled out of thin air. So the fact that you guys have learned these skills, even though you may not be that talented with them right out of the gate, and hopefully you are. I wasn't the most studious student, but you still know a valuable skill, and you will learn a lot at your first jobs very quickly, and you will grow into that value very quickly, and just always push for more.
Well, I
Always push
appreciate
for
giving
more.
that advice, and that can definitely be helpful. So I appreciate those tips. To kind of transition here, and we're kind of coming up on the 20+ minute mark. So just in summary, first off, thank you so much for taking a little time and offering some tips and advice. I really hope that the students find this useful. Potential students maybe, we'll see. Congratulations on your success. You're a young guy. You got the world in front of you. I can't wait to see where you're at in 5 years. You're going to be crushing it.
In a Lamborghini.
What's that?
In a Lamborghini, hopefully.
That's great. Yeah. Maybe I can go for a ride sometime. So you pick your old teacher up someday.
Oh yeah.
Class, any questions for Jordan? Do you mind sharing your grades? Like, were they A's, B's, C's?
I was straight C's. Straight C's.
And there's value there, right? Because
Barely
you're
C's.
crushing it in the real world, and you weren't the A+ student all the way through, right? I mean,
No, because it's hard.
because it's
It's
hard.
hard whenever you're first learning it. Yeah, it's so hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, you're crushing it, man. And any other questions for Jordan?
Come on.
Anything else? Anything else you want to share, Jordan, with the class before we kind of end this?
Mm,
Where do you want to be in 5 years?
right. Well, hopefully owning my own business. Ideally, Drive is the last place that I really, the last job I have, so to speak. We're building this software, so ideally, I want to see that through, launch it, see that be successful.
You want
save my money
Lamborghinis in different
away.
colors. That's what you want.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I want a big house. I want a nice car, and I want to do what I want when I want.
You're a motivated young man. You're crushing it. You're killing it. Congratulations. Thanks so much, man.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
All right. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
So, see you, Evan.
All right. Bye.